Okay, it is 11 o'clock Mountain Time, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us for the June edition of our ongoing Data Exchange monthly webinar series. This month is titled Shop Floor Connectivity, what kind of data gets exchanged, and we are going to be discussing how Scytec DataXchange machine monitoring collects information off of your machines, as well as some of the protocol access and the information that is able to be retrieved from that, and how that makes DataXchange a standout from some of the other machine monitoring competitors, as well as a host of other topics. Now, for those of you that are going to be attending the Automate show next week from June 22nd to the 25th at McCormick Place in Chicago, Illinois, we hope that you stop by the Minitab booth to see Scytec DataXchange machine monitoring, as well as Minitab statistical processing control software, as well as ProLink, where we're going to be answering some questions about how you guys can evolve your shop floor with the all-encompassing Minitab ecosystem of manufacturing software, which includes, as I said, Minitab statistical control software, Simulate, DataXchange machine monitoring, and ProLink. And as usual, for all of the webinars that we do here at Scytec, I always like to go over the order of events for this morning's webinar, starting off with how does DataXchange collect equipment data from your shop floor equipment, as well as how DataXchange can modify collected data, and also some other types of data that can be collected by DataXchange. And then after we give you kind of a rundown of how DataXchange collects information, we're going to be discussing what a machine protocol is and why that is important to the data collection process of DataXchange, as well as what protocols and machines are supported by DataXchange, and how does this direct protocol access make DataXchange a standout from some of the other machine monitoring platforms, and how else these direct protocols are utilized by DataXchange. So first up, I'd like to discuss how does DataXchange collect information from manufacturing equipment. And DataXchange is installed on a central Windows computer out on your shop floor. And then over wired or wireless Ethernet, DataXchange can connect to your machines and collect data. Information that is collected is stored in either the commercial cloud offering, which is the most common for DataXchange, and that meets the most stringent of ITAR regulations, or you can keep your stored information on premise by building out your own SQL and web server. And this is for IT departments that are very strict with what gets stored in clouds, or if they even allow it at all, and they require an air gap, or maybe you are kind of beholden to what your contractor demands of how things are stored in your production facility. And with DataXchange, you are only allotted one deployment at a time. However, you can change them when you feel like it, meaning that you could start off in a cloud deployment and then move over to the on-premise solution, or vice versa. You could start with the on-premise solution and then move to a cloud deployment. So if you're looking at that image over there on the right, this is a somewhat crude way of showing you how the DataXchange service works, which I'm going to be describing in the next slide. But you have a central Windows computer that is out on your shop floor that collects machine information and then stores them in one of the two different deployment offerings. Next up, I'd like to be discussing the DataXchange service, which kind of builds off the last slide that I just went over. And the DataXchange service, which we affectionately here call the DX service, is the communication point between machines and the web server. This service must be installed on a Windows PC that is able to communicate to both machines over a local network and the internet if using the cloud offering. And just because the DataXchange service is only allowed to be installed on a Windows computer, you can use an Apple, Android, and Windows devices, as well as a browser, to access your DataXchange manufacturing charts and dashboards via the data display reporting tool that is available on common devices such as the Apple iPhone and Androids as well. Now, The result of this collected information from your machinery is the creation of real-time manufacturing dashboards as well as historical charts showing things like your current machine statuses as well as historical machine statuses and other user-demanded data items in DataXchange. So if you're looking at that screenshot there in the center, that is a client of ours using DataXchange out on their shop floor, and they're currently using a equipment status summary chart on a tablet. So a common question that we get asked here a lot at Scytec is what happens if you lose internet access to the DataXchange service? Let's say you're running a lights out operation and the production facility that you have DataXchange in loses internet access. If you lose connection to the DataXchange service, collected data from the machines is still cached in SQLite and things still work accordingly. So as I mentioned, if you're running a lights out operation and the internet runs out, you can come in the next morning and all of that information is still collected and cached inside of SQLite. And anytime that data is not being collected properly, the first step to resolve the issue is to restart the DataXchange service. And it is possible to configure a DataXchange notification to be sent when the server does not detect any activity from the DataXchange service for some time, usually about 5 minutes. So you can get a notification in either Microsoft Teams, text, or email alerting you that the DataXchange service has stopped communication and that you can go out and restart it. Now, the way that DataXchange connects to your information was just to your machines was just discussed, but now I'd like to discuss how that data collection actually happens, and that is via common protocols for data collection, such as open standardized ones, such as OPCUA and MT-Connect. I'm going to go over these a little bit further, but OPCUA is geared a little bit more towards collecting information off of PLC devices as well as sensors, and MT-Connect is geared a little bit more towards CNC machines. But there's also other protocols that DataXchange is able to access for the ability to retrieve a very rich set of data. So if you have collaborative robots out on your shop floor, you can use the Modbus TCP protocol in DataXchange to collect information off of that. And if you have name brand machine controllers such as FANUC or Akuma, you can utilize their direct protocols that I'm going to be going over later as well, such as the FANUC Focus protocol and the Akuma Think protocol that can give you a very rich set of data that goes way beyond is my machine running or not running. And a very important tenet that I cannot hone in on enough is that DataXchange, one way or another, can connect to just about everything that is out on your shop floor and pull some sort of useful data off of it. And this includes very common machines such as Haas, Mazak, Siemens, Heidenhain, Citizen, and more. Now, as I said in the last slide, one way or another, DataXchange can connect to just about everything that is out on your guys' shop floor, and we have the ability to do that with the aforementioned protocols. And if we can't connect to them via a open source protocol as well as a direct source protocol, we also have the ability to use a hardware option that is offered by Scytec, which is our status relay controller. And some of the things I'm going to cover in this webinar, I'm going to gloss over kind of briefly. If you go to our Scytec.com website as well as our YouTube channel, you will find more in-depth descriptions of some of these things, including what I'm about to go over here right now, which is our status relay controller, which we call the SRC. And the SRC is how we can connect to a whole host of different shop floor equipment, such as manual, fabrication, and legacy machinery, as well as sensors. And the SRC is a PLC device that ships directly from Scytec headquarters, ready to work with your equipment. And this opens up, as I said, DataXchange's ability to monitor any type of equipment that is out on your shop floor. And it's something that only a few of our competitors offer, but not a lot do. And if you look over at the image on the left-hand side of the screen, this is what the SRC looks like. And it also has the ability to collect information over Ethernet, both wired and wirelessly. And if you look at those open ports on the right-hand side of the unit, that is where you can tie in your sensors into one of those open ports and monitor things, as I said, such as manual equipment, older legacy machinery, fabrication equipment, as well as machine sensors. Now, building off of that last slide, I'd like to go over some of the kind of common sensors that are available for the SRC to monitor, which includes things like proximity sensors, current and amperage sensors, fill levels, thermocouples, vibration, and humidity sensors. And a very special use case that I'd like to discuss involves a client of ours that uses a humidity sensor for monitoring their environment, so that inside of DataXchange, if they happen to have an environment that gets so hot or humid, it might warp the material that they're using for production. And DataXchange can allow them to receive a notification in either Microsoft Teams, text, or email to be notified that it is too hot in that environment and that they need to cease production so that they don't have to scrap any parts or anything like that. And with DataXchange, this is another very special tenet I like to discuss, is that everything is 100% user-defined and user-configurable. And with the information that is taken off of these sensors, you can have specialized dashboards that can be created in the RTV, the real-time viewer, inside of DataXchange that can present information that is critical for your shop floor to be producing on time and as scheduled without any issues. And that everything inside of DataXchange that is meant to be displayed is meaningful to your shop floor environment and meant to solve your shop floor issues. Next up, I'm going to be discussing modifying the collected data inside of DataXchange. And this is another common question that we get asked, is like, what happens if something that gets collected and it's wrong? And DataXchange users can modify data that has been previously collected. This is an administrative function allowing previously collected data to be adjusted. And a good use case of this is, let's say a machine has stopped running, but a user forgot to enter the correct downtime reason in their ODI. And it is a supplemental application that is available with DataXchange. And it is for reporting downtimes that are not able to be automatically collected off of the machine, such as, we'll say an operator went on a break or a tool broke. And this downtime can be adjusted from unknown downtime to the. And DataXchange users can all work order or a part number status if there is a discrepancy there as well. So next up, I'd like to discuss other types of data that can be collected by DataXchange. And DataXchange offers an API that can do things like integrate with ERP systems such as JobBoss 2. And it can also retrieve information from visualizers like Microsoft Power BI that you can have your own web portal view inside of the RTV to display these kind of things, as well as Microsoft Office documents. And for security purposes, the API by default, please contact Scytec support or your DataXchange reseller for additional API information, activation, and documentation. The API key and usage statistics can be found within the DataXchange Windows desktop configuration application under the Manage Settings and API tabs. So after I discuss how DataXchange can connect to and collect information off of your machines, now it's important to discuss what a protocol for these data collections procedures are for a CNC machine. I'd like you guys to think about what a CNC controller is, and it's think about it like as it's the brain of your CNC machine. And I want you to think of a protocol as the proprietary language that a CNC machine uses to communicate. DataXchange collects and reads signals coming off of your CNC controller and uses that data to make manufacturing charts and dashboards, allowing you to improve your shop floor processes by exposing bottlenecks like machine downtime and other shop floor events. Next up, I'm going to be discussing the supported machines as well as direct access protocols that DataXchange utilizes to collect information off of your machine. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the broadest way for DataXchange to connect to shop floor equipment that is out on your guys' shop floors is via the open source standardized protocols such as NT Connect and OPCUA, which organizations like AMT, the Association for Manufacturing Technology, is heavily involved with. MT Connect, as I mentioned earlier, is meant for CNC machines, and the OPCUA platform is more geared towards collecting information off of PLC devices as well as sensors. And OPC-UA stands for Open Platform Communications United Architecture. And that united architecture is important, meaning that it's not platform dependent. Now, with these two broad protocols that are open source and standardized, they're a little bit more limited in what they can report as compared to direct source protocols, which I'm going to be going over here next, which include things like the FANUC protocol, which is the FANUC focus protocol, Akuma Think, Heidenhain, Siemens, Haas, Mazak, and more. They all have their own direct source protocols that DataXchange can utilize for retrieving a very rich set of data that allows for DataXchange users to receive a plethora of very useful information that some of our competitors cannot retrieve. And this is also very true for MES and production monitoring products that use the term machine monitoring, but don't really give the same kind of information that DataXchange is able to. So if you go to our main Scytec.com website, there is a tab for supported technology that can go over the other things that I'm about to go over here in just a second, and details the list of equipment that is supported as well as what is actually supported with these direct protocol access. And once again, with DataXchange, we have the ability to connect to just about everything machine or sensor-wise that is out on your guys' shop floor. And if you have any questions about what is supported with DataXchange in terms of machine collection, please reach out to us at support@scytec.com for any inquiries on machine connection. So once again, if you go to our main Scytec.com website and go to the supported technology tab, you will see at the very bottom of the screen a bunch of common machine brand logos, where if you click on one, you will be greeted with the direct protocol access data items. And the one that you can see over there on the right-hand side of the screen is the FANUC data items, and that includes a very rich set of data items that are reported by DataXchange, which can include things such as the active tool, as well as a description of the data item. So with active tool, that retrieves the current active tool number. And you can see there's a whole host of other things that are able to be reported, such as alarm information, cycle status, feed rate overrides, part counts, part numbers, path feed rates, rapid overrides, spindle overrides, as well as spindle speeds, and a bunch of other different data points. Also on that web page, you also can see a long list of supported machines, and this is not beholden to anything that you're looking at right now. Once again, DataXchange can connect to just about anything via these protocols or the hardware SRC that I mentioned earlier. But you can see a long list of the supported machines that DataXchange can pull information off of, including Allen Bradley PLCs, Citizen machines, more expensive machines like DMG, Morris, and Doosan's, as well as things like Fadals, Fagor, FANUC controls, Haas machines, Hercos, Kitamuras, Makinos, Masuras, Mitsubishis, Akuma, Siemens, Sodix, and more. Next up, I'd like to go over some of the common controller types that support this direct protocol access from very well-known brands such as FANUC, which includes the FANUC 0, 30, 31i series, the Haas next generation controller lineup, the Akuma OSP 300 and 500 series, the Siemens 840D solution line, as well as the Cinemeric Operate and Cinemeric 1 solution lines, the Heidenhain ITNC 530, TNC 640, and TNC 7, as well as the entire Mazak Smooth lineup. So why is this ability to read direct protocols important for machine monitoring? And as I said before, DataXchange has the ability to go beyond, is my machine running or not running, the way that, yes, some MES systems promise things like machine monitoring, as well as production machine monitoring, which are a little bit more limited in their ability to retrieve this rich set of data that I talked about. So rudimentary machine monitoring systems or broad production systems will just not give you this level of detail you may be looking for. The ability to read protocols is key in the retrieval of information for the data collection rules and expressions that you set within DataXchange. And if you're unfamiliar with what the expressions are, we kind of talked about this last month in our webinar. And I want you to think of the expressions as they are user-defined rules that are especially important for the notification feature set in Scytec DataXchange. And in this regard of the expressions, DataXchange is the most configurable machine monitoring platform. And Scytec DataXchange set these rules up for you from the get-go during your onboarding process based off of your needs for what you are looking to improve out on your shop floor, as well as there are default rules that come standard in DataXchange. And also, this direct protocol access is very important for our integration partners such as Vericut that require a richer set of data at higher speeds than standardized protocols like MT Connect. And I'm going to be discussing that here in a later slide. But some good use cases, especially in regard for these notifications for direct protocol access, are as follows. So let's say you want to be alerted when a machine is in an alarm and you want to be notified via either email, text, or Microsoft Teams of the alarm and get a description of the alarm and its duration. You can do that with this direct protocol access and how it assists the DataXchange expressions / rules that you guys come up with. Or let's say you want to be notified of the load and overrides of a specific spindle, or whether a machine has been put in an M0 or M1 pause, or how long that pause has transpired. You can get a notification about that. And what is the current cycle status on a machine? How many good or scrap parts have been produced? And as I said, this really makes DataXchange the most configurable machine monitoring platform that is out there. And the ability to read these direct protocols helps enable this with the DataXchange expressions. So if you'd like to get some more information on the expressions, please see our webinar that we did last month, which you can find on both our Scytec.com website as well as our YouTube channel. And I'd also like to do a little bit more discussion of the value of these direct protocols by kind of glossing over what these standard protocols do not do. And standardized protocols do not have the ability to read certain things off of CNC controls and cannot retrieve the in-depth data items like the direct protocol access can. And there's also some limitations for the retrieved data as it's only provided by what the standard committee set. And another kind of drawback for the standardized protocols is support. With standardized protocols, there's not support by control suppliers, machine tool builders, as well as third parties, which means that you can run into things like bugs, issues, and enhancement with standardized protocols are harder to come by because they have multiple vendors, and also that leads to issues with how they are able to fix things. With direct protocol access, you're really only dealing with one, and that's Scytec. If something is not working the right way, you wanted it to, give us a call and we will fix that out. As well as with standardized protocols, they don't really receive regular updates the way that Scytec DataXchange does. DataXchange usually receives an update about once a quarter. The last update for MT Connect was in July of 2023. Now, I always like to end our webinars by advocating our DataXchange client base to go over to our dxhelp.scytec.com website, which we affectionately call Scytec University, where you can find a breakdown of all of the different tutorials for how to use Scytec DataXchange, as well as how different roles can use Scytec DataXchange, how, basically every employment level some way or another can utilize DataXchange to improve their job responsibilities, as well as common scenarios for how DataXchange can be used out on your guys' shop floor. And then finally, I'd like to discuss our upcoming webinars. We do one of these on a month-to-month basis that is covering some sort of manufacturing industry-related topic and how DataXchange helps, or about DataXchange itself. So at the end of July, we have how every role in your shop floor benefits from machine monitoring, where I will be doing an in-depth breakdown of how people like operators, managers, and supervisors can utilize DataXchange to help improve their day-to-day responsibilities. And then at the end of August, we are going to have a primer for the big IMTS show that we will be attending this year as well, with our new mini tab owners, as well as ProLink and some other useful kind of tenants, where we're going to be breaking down how DataXchange, ProLink, mini tab, as well as Simulate and the other companies that are under the new kind of ecosystem for manufacturers with Minitab to solve their shop floor issues. So if you guys are already Minitab customers or DataXchange customers, please come and check that out. And then please see us at IMTS later on this year. And that about covers it for this morning. We usually try to keep these around about a half hour. So thank you all again. And if you have any issues, please reach out to that support channel here at Scytec, and we will gladly help you guys out with either getting started with DataXchange, or if you're already a DataXchange users, for any troubleshooting that you guys may be running into. Thank you all for joining us here this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday afternoon. Thank you and goodbye.